The best seat in the L90 is here, 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 here in the third row, and here. The ONVO L90 is big, and I mean big in every sense of the word. The three-row fully electric large SUV is the biggest in its class in terms of wheelbase at well over 3 meters long. And it's got the industry's biggest frunk at 240 liters and plenty of space for 6 passengers and luggage. Every seat in the L90 is a VIP seat, as ONVO proclaims. It's one of the first fully electric SUVs that wants to break the chokehold that plug-in or extended range electric full-size SUVs have had on the market. It's also the biggest model launch yet for NIO Group in its 11-year history. Maybe the biggest ever, because it has the greatest potential to become a blockbuster model, a status that no other NIO model before it has been able to obtain. Its price is not so big, with a starting price in BaaS under renminbi 200,000, which in and of itself is big amid increasing competitors lurking behind. ONVO Sure has thrown down the gauntlet with the L90, putting the industry on notice. I had a chance to test drive this big guy in Chongli, and here are my thoughts. So I'm here in Chongli experiencing the ONVO L90, which is positioned as a smart, big space flagship SUV. For those of you that don't know, Chongli is a popular destination for people from Beijing during the summer to escape the heat, and in the winter for skiing. But Chongli is also most well known for the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. And I'm just passing through the Winter Olympic Village. For me personally, Chongli brings back a lot of memories. The first time here was exactly 10 years ago. 2015 with the family. My daughter was 4 years old at the time. The last time I was here was October 2018, almost 7 years ago, when NIO just started delivering the ES8 for a few months. June 28, 2018 is when they started delivery of the ES8. And fast forward 7 years, NIO has become a 3-brand group with the premium position NIO, the family position ONVO, and the kind of the younger clientele Firefly. I don't usually do car reviews, but I happened to be back in the summer with the family, and NIO invited me to kind of test out the most important model yet for NIO Group. Maybe in the history of NIO Group, because there's so much riding in this model and it has the biggest potential to become a blockbuster model. Right now, I'm heading over north of Chongli, go on the expressway a little bit, and then kind of feel out the ride, the handling, the comfort. I'm headed from Taizicheng, where we were staying last night, head over further north to the Caoyuan Tianlu, which is kind of the grass sky road. I actually drove this car yesterday to the Xiqueliang, which is the Magpie Peak. And I've had some experience with the car, sitting through the workshop yesterday and listening to Xu Fei, head of ONVO L90 product experience. He mostly talked about handling and the comfort part of it. I say this has the greatest potential to become a blockbuster because, first of all, the ONVO L90 is trying to be everything in one. It's big, it's spacious, it's got plenty of space configurations. It's a 3-row SUV, it's a 6-seater, one of the earliest fully electric 3-row SUVs that's kind of trying to change the competitive landscape, because so far in China, plug-in and EREV SUVs has been quite popular in this segment, the large SUVs. And NIO, through the ONVO brand and the L90, is trying to change that. Space, obviously, is something. And Xu Fei, he talked about this being possibly the lightest large 3-row SUV. One of my first impressions was obviously the size, the fit and finish. Lines between NIO ES6, which is a more premium position model, versus the ONVO L90 has been extremely blurred. And also the fact that ONVO L90 throw down the gauntlet by putting the BAS pricing below 200,000 RMB. It could be lower when this thing launches at the end of this month. It's starting at 279,900 RMB pre-sale price, with the BAS pricing 193,900. Now my understanding is you probably will pay about around 800 RMB per month for the battery leasing, but the financing, the other incentives, the packages, that will be announced when it launches on July 31st, and it'll immediately start deliveries on August 1st. Now, one thing that the ONVO L90 learned from L60, 5-seat SUV, should have been the blockbuster model out of all the NIO brands so far, but there was a major hiccup because, first of all, there was not the battery swap network, and second, there were some production issues. So the rhythm of launching and planning for the L90 was an upgrade, definitely from L60, because a few weeks ago, we saw loads and loads of L90s being shipped on these transporters, ready for delivery, unlike what happened to the L60. And as of yesterday, the power swap network compatible with ONVO brand vehicles has increased to 2,050. Now that's roughly 60% of the more than 34,000 battery swap stations so far across China. These 2,050 swap stations compatible with ONVO are all third and fourth generation power swap stations. Get every sense ONVO is ready for the delivery of the L90. And from the initial media reaction and industry perception that this is the blockbuster model. And how do we benchmark when we say blockbuster? For me, I think a minimum, the ONVO L90 should reach at least 5,000 a month. And that would be a grade B. A grade A would be consistently delivering over 10,000 units. Now that's something that is a question mark, because over the years, every model, the ET5, the ES6 had the potential to become volume runners. But so far, there hasn't been one. And with the ambitious goal of breaking even by the end of this year, and Li Bian has publicly said that they like to achieve 20,000 units on the NIO brand, 20,000 units on the ONVO with both the L60 and the L90 and the upcoming smaller L80. I actually think there's a good chance that the ONVO can get to 20,000 units, but the problem is the blurring of the ONVO L90, at least from a fit and finish with some of the NIO SUVs. Will that cut into the NIO ES6 sales? It's a possibility. Anticipation for this vehicle, the expectations are high. And it was interesting, the day before yesterday, a slew of large 3-row 6-seat SUVs were officially announced. Tesla Model YL crashing the party, the Li Auto i8 launching at the end of this month, delivery starting at the end of August, Ito new M8, IML S9. You just don't have the first mover advantage for long, but at least what the ONVO L90 has done is, first of all, it's got the longest wheelbase among all of these models that I've mentioned. It also threw down the gauntlet by pricing a vehicle under 200,000 RMB for this big of a vehicle in BAS mode, whereas the i8 expected price will be maybe 350,000 to 400,000. Now that's over 150,000 RMB more expensive if we compare it to the BAS model pricing. Competition in this part of the market, the fully electric large 3-row SUVs, which the ONVO L90 has set to change, because Li Bian said, why haul around a baggage, a range extender, like the Zeekr 9X with a 380 kilometer battery electric range. One of the selling points is that every seat in the ONVO L90 is VIP seat. Now, me personally, I'm not a big fan of 3-row SUVs, but this L90 has kind of changed my mind because I'm 189, which is about 6'2"-ish, and I'm sat in every seat to kind of get a feel of the space of every seat. And actually, I was coming back last night in another L90, sitting in the very back, and obviously I could not cross my legs, but there was another person sitting in front of me, and he was 193, and he was in a comfortable position. I was sitting behind him, and actually the space wasn't bad. And I could recline the third row seat back so I could be comfortable. And the second row seat, obviously on the right side of it, has the zero gravity, which is nice. I wouldn't say it's perfect. It has changed my mind of what could be possible in terms of spacing. And the other part of it, obviously the ONVO brand and the L90 basically has teased its 240-liter frunk, the biggest so far that any brand, any model in the world has launched in terms of the size of the frunk. And I got to see it at the Shanghai Auto Show. And it's definitely huge. And even the rear trunk has enough spacing for luggage. And obviously it's got automatic power roll down seats, third row seats, so you just basically press a button and the seats will fall down themselves. And also there's active suspension. With the press of a button, you can lower the vehicle down 100 millimeters, and that's a lot. I was driving yesterday toward this Magpie Peak, and there was some gravel road, the active suspension at the right, and the handling was quite good. I'm gonna turn on the NOA, it's merging by itself. Speaking of NOA, ONVO will push out its own OSD, or ONVO Smart Driving end-to-end, by the end of this year on all models. I'm expecting highway to be rather smooth. There's about 28 kilometers to go on this G95 Beijing Chongli expressway. Right now it's going at 100. There's this ARHUD, something I'm not a big fan of, but I'm getting a hang of it. I think it's one of the brightest. There was a huge glare yesterday going up to the Magpie Peak, and it stayed very clear, even with the glare. And as you can see also here on the screen, typical what you would see there's this object on the road. Now this thing, you do have to put your hands on the steering wheel, or it'll have this, it's automatically changing lanes, quite good. Even though there's a car behind me, but I think it's saw the space and cut in nicely. Now, going back to the handling, one of the things that NIO did in terms of development of this vehicle, obviously, it's been 5 years since they started the ONVO project, and it's been over a year since the brand was officially launched in May of 2024, and then in the fall, the L60 launched. But obviously, before it was codenamed Alps, on and off was rumored in 2023, leading up to the official announcement in 2024, and now we have the flagship SUV soon to be launched and delivered in the market. And one of the things that Xu talked about was the handling and the comfort. And something they stressed was it's built on the accumulation of 10 years of technology R&D of NIO. The way they've reached this light structure, lightest large three-row SUV, is it's got the 72-in-1 mega casting that's under 440 kilograms. The rear motor, now it's the 4th generation permanent synchronous motor, 925 volts, weighing only 79 kilograms. Same weight as I weigh about 80. And the 85 kilowatt hour standard battery is 440 kilograms. The lightweight design, and this allows the vehicle, at least the rear wheel drive version, to go from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.9 seconds, and the all-wheel drive version in 4.7 seconds. Now, the rear wheel drive has the 340 kilowatt hour 4th gen e-motor, combined with the 100 kilowatt asynchronous induction motor in the front. You get 440 total kilowatt power. And one of the things that Fei talked about was actually if you go from 80 to 120, now the changing modes, I'm going to do a changing mode right now. 小乐 调整到运动模式. So I just asked it to change to the sport mode, and if you press on the acceleration right now, I'm going 120, you notice the difference pretty quickly. I'm going to turn it back to comfort mode. 小乐 调整到舒适模式. And if you try to press on the accelerator, it's not as nimble and quick as the sport mode. It's got the 80 kilometers per hour to 120 in 3 seconds for the all-wheel drive, and 3.6 seconds for the rear-wheel drive. Everything was compared to and benchmarked against the BMW X7 and the Mercedes Maybach GLS. And the ONVO L90 has a 100 to 0 kilometer per hour braking distance of 35.5 meters. ONVO claimed this is the best performing large three-row SUV in the Moose test. And it's got this AI chassis that allows a turning radius of 5.7 meters. Through the smart U-turn feature. And it's got this intelligent smooth stop 2.0 so that there's no jolt or nosedive when you press the brake and stop. 5 standard modes of driving. Also the front double wishbone and the rear 5-link suspension. I was driving a lot of hilly road yesterday, and you do notice a difference going over bumps and potholes. It was quite comfy. It wasn't as jerky. And again, the air suspension with 100mm ultra long travel distance. Smart continuous damping control, CDC. In-house developed smart U-turn. Lighting is also interesting. It's got the Starlight Pixel DRL, the adaptive driving beam function that can go 450 meters or 600 meters, and there's a 350 millisecond response time. There's 422 LEDs on the rear light. There's a 35-inch AR HUD, which I'm looking at, which has a projection a distance of 4.5 meters and also a huge big field of view with 111 ppd ultra high resolution, and it's got the 15,000 nit peak brightness. Now this thing is actually also quite off-roady and agile. It has a 200mm breakaway capability and water weighting of 600mm. Now the glasses has the 4.96 acoustic PVB laminated glass. It's got either the super quiet 20-inch Goodyear tires or the 21-inch Michelin tires. Energy consumption rated 14.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers for the rear-wheel drive, and 15.4 for the all-wheel drive. And the 85 kilowatt-hour battery has the CLTC range of 605 kilometers for the rear-wheel drive and 570 kilometers for the all-wheel drive. And it has a also class-leading coefficient drag of 0.25. And I talked about the NOA going nationwide with OSD end-to-end by the end of 2025. And let me check currently the energy consumption. So right now it's at 16.4 kilowatt-hour per 100 kilometers. It's been all highway so far, expressway so far, so actually quite good. And since last charging or power replenishment, it's going at 15.6. Okay, it's telling me be careful, there's a road construction. And it's also seeing these cones. It's also slowed down to 90. The other part about why this is the biggest launch, because NIO CEO Li Bin spent 3 hours talking about this model at its pre-launch on July 10th. And we're about a week later. A media test drive is going on right now. Even the way they design the size of the screen, how high it is, how low is it, how wide it is, whether it goes against your knee. Actually, there's a lot went into the development of the screen. And hopefully, on my way back, I will try to do a battery swap at the Taizicheng service area, which has one of the latest generation NIO power swap stations. That's probably the last thing I'll do before returning the vehicle, turning on some of my favorite music. The audio system is also very good, and it's got the uniquely designed speaker shape And actually, believe it or not, the sound system is also in-house developed by NIO. And in my personal view of the handling, I think for a large SUV, because of the rear wheel steering, maneuvering tight turns is relatively good. And when you're on the road, you don't feel like you're in a large SUV because of the lightweight body and the lightweighting that they put into this vehicle. And the fervor of this model since its pre-launch, the showrooms, the traffic, there's always families with kids checking out the vehicle. I was there the other day, and there was a family with twins, two boys. They were just sitting in the third row seat, and with this the drop-down screen, watching a cartoon, and wouldn't leave. And I didn't even have a chance to sit in the third row, but now I have, and I kind of know how it feels. And you see in this dark environment, in this tunnel, I think the light is perfect on a center screen, and also quite clear, the ARHUD. I'm currently going at 80, exactly the speed limit. And since I've turned on the NOA, I have not had to disengage it. So in about 2.7 kilometers, I will be exiting to the Huapiling, also known as the kind of the sky road, where the scenery is quite beautiful. So after test driving this vehicle and having the last 2 days, yesterday and today, we got ourselves a huge volume driver for NIO finally. It has to do well. I think NIO is due, and this is probably the model that will deliver. And I'm looking forward to the numbers in a couple months and how they do. I don't see any reason why it couldn't fail other than the competition that are coming. But it looks like they will be priced, if we compare the Boss pricing, significantly higher, I believe. NOA is still on, and actually it's the body is actually raising once it knows that it's off the highway. That's part of the dynamic air suspension, the 100 millimeter that I talked about earlier. Okay, still in NOA mode. Check back the, so this trip so far, it's at 16.7 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. And I've driven about just slightly under an hour. With AC at 20 degrees, the seat ventilation turned on the lowest mode. After driving the ONVO L90 for a couple of days, my final verdict is that this SUV is everything it has shaped up to be. One of the closest to this all-scenario family SUV, fully electric, battery swappable, ride, handling, space, smartification, NOA, ADAS. It's got all the ingredients for it to become a blockbuster model, finally, for NIO. And now the only question that remains is the volumes. Will the volumes prove to be what this was shaped up to be? We will see in a few months' time. And we do know that the competitive environment is pretty cutthroat because there's just a few models that were officially unveiled right around the launch time of the L90. So it's going to go up against tense competition. Fingers crossed that this will do well. I'm hopeful. I'm glad that I've driven this on a nice summer afternoon and evening and the morning in this Olympic town, northern part of Beijing, about 200 kilometers or 3 hours drive away. Cool, sunny, but cool, much cooler than Beijing. Perfect getaway vehicle for people that are living in the city. And that's the ONVO L90. That's my final verdict. This thing's got to do well. A lot of people in the industry are going to pull for it. And pull for NIO, pull for Li Bin, to spend so much time and effort on in-house R&D, a lot of proprietary technology. They're losing money every year, but hopefully they're going to get it turned around and get to break even by the end of this year as planned. And I'm not so much worried about the sales volumes. If they don't get to 400,000, if they don't double, it's fine. Really, this is the year of delivery, right? The year of harvesting, meaning they have to finally make money. And that's the bottom line and the basic business model. If you don't make money, you're not going to survive for long. And they're trying every which way possible to achieve that. And ONVO L90 is one of the biggest products in their lineup to help them do it. So again, the battery swapping is it's automatic, it's pre-arranged. It calculates in real time how many people are going to be in the queue. The other thing that pre-launch of the ONVO L90 that ONVO did was they did a stunt, a 10,000 kilometer battery swap only trip on an ONVO L60, and they completed it in just over 98 hours. Now, for those of you doing the math, they drove on average about 2,500 kilometers per 24-hour day. And that shows you the depth and the wide availability of the power swap network. And again, for ONVO, it's over 2,000 third and fourth gen power swap stations all over the country. And NIO just completed its 1,000th power swap station on expressways.